everybody, Gina DeLuca here. All right, today I am going to be doing a flower pour using straight pour recipe. However, I am using the DecoArt Americana Decor Metallics in copper. This was an old jar, so will I get cells? I'm not counting on it. However, the paint is still usable. It just may not give you as many cells. It'll still be really pretty. Other colors I am using for the background, I have Unbleached Titanium. So this will be my base coat and background color. I also have this Little Piggy pigment in Wild Atlantic and Bloodstone. And over here to the side, I have some remnants of some scraped pours. I may or may not use that. Probably leaning towards not. We will see. We'll see. We'll see how I feel. But the pigments have been mixed with a bit of Josonja to just wet the pigments. Then I added some TriArt modeling paste clear. This is the matte modeling paste. I added that until it had the consistency of tube paint. And then I added Floetrol. So basically 1 part paint to 2 parts Floetrol, and then I thin with water if necessary, until I get the consistency that I'm looking for, which is, this is about a 2 on my consistency scale. It is making a mound, but it disappears pretty quickly. You want it to make a nice thin, even stream off of your stick. If it is getting thick and then thin, then your consistency is inconsistent and you need to keep mixing. Before we get started, have you seen the Fluid Art inspiration cards? If you have, you can fast forward about a minute, but if you have not, what we have are 52 cards. There are 42 technique cards, and each technique card has an associated video here on YouTube that gives you all of the information that you need, the exact paint brand, color, consistency, the recipe, the technique, all of the things that I cannot fit onto a card. This is the picture of the painting in that video. This box contains a tip for this particular technique, and here at the bottom you have the color palette that was used in this painting. And then these 2 boxes can be used together as the basis of a 2-color palette, or you can build off of those colors. And there are 8 bonus color palette cards. Each one has 5 color palettes. You can use all of the colors or just some of the colors. Mix and match the bonus color palette cards with the technique cards, and you have more combinations than you could ever paint in a lifetime. These are available at my website, ginadeluca.net, and also at amazon.com. This nifty little flower making contraption I got from the paintpourstore.com. You can get yourself one of these if you use the coupon code GINA15. You can get yourself 15% off of one of these and whatever else they have on their website. And I make a small commission at no additional cost to you. Same goes for DecoArt. There is a coupon code for that in the description box, and you can also find the link for the this Little Piggy pigments in the description box as well. From Fluid Art Company, which is also where I got the modeling paste and the Josonja varnish, all this stuff here. It is very helpful when you use those coupon codes to your artists that you like to follow. Every little bit helps. And yeah. The kitten came with a complimentary upper respiratory infection, which he passed along to Satchmo. So that was another vet bill. And I started having heart palpitations when I saw my credit card bill for the month, because it also included Bigsby's. It was his bill too. So, please do stay tuned. I am going to be having an auction coming up very soon. I will be announcing that date possibly by the end of this video. I will be figuring that out, but it will be in May. And so yes, I need some cashola rolling in. So it's time for me to do some serious varnishing and get cracking. So that's what's happening. So the first thing I'm going to do is put about 2 ounces of my background color in my cup so that I know I have enough. And then I'm going to lay down my base coat, and I'm going to try to reserve a bit of paint in case of emergencies. It happens more frequently than you might think. So you'll notice I've already covered my edges. The reason that I do this is I am using Floetrol as my pouring medium, and that does not create the stickiest of recipes for the sides. If you don't cover your sides first, the paint may appear thin on the sides, and then your canvas will show through. So I like to cover that first so that I don't have to do it later. That is especially handy if you are doing a custom blend for your background color. And the reason we lay down a base coat is so that our paints have something to slide around on. If you do not have a base coat down, something has to stick to the canvas first. And if that is not your base coat, that is going to be your poured puddle. And then whatever hits the canvas first is going to stick to that, and then the rest of it is going to roll over top of your edges of your puddle. And sometimes that is where the coolest stuff happens. And then you kind of lose that opportunity to keep those edges because the paint is going to roll over them. So I like to troubleshoot before there's trouble. It is a few extra minutes, but it can save you a whole lot of time later on. And it maximizes your potential for the outcome that you want, or an outcome that you want. If you've done this long enough, you know that getting the outcome that you want happens very rarely. One of the reasons that I love this medium is it kind of forces you, you know, to accept what has been given you. Perfectionism is a difficult thing in this medium. Give that a little spin out. Going to pop these bubbles. Old Bernie 2 times, living up to his name. Never lights on the first try. I see some schmutz. Let me grab that. Did I get it? I did. Okay. Now to place my little flower maker. I'm going to try to put it in the center. It will require some adjusting. All right, I've got my flower maker centered. I'm gonna put some paint in a cup. All right, I do think I'm gonna add some of this leftover paint. Not a tremendous amount, but I do kind of want some of this shade in there. And be sure to check the consistency before adding it to your cup. The sauce may thicken upon standing. Okay, now I'm going to add this lovely blue. And I am not pouring these from up from very high. They will be doing some blending once I put them in the little flower maker. And now for the bloodstone. And the copper. And this I will be pouring from up high. I want this to sink and some of that to make it to the bottom, because that will end up in the center of my pour. I don't know why it works out that way, but it works out that way. The last color that I put in, if I pour it from up high, it ends up in the center and cool stuff happens. I'm going to take some of my reserved base coat and just go over top of that a bit. Okay, so I'm going to pour in the center. I'm going to move slowly with the pouring because I don't want so much going in that it overflows. So I'm trying to be careful, doing my best to stay in the center, spinning so that these colors are evenly distributed throughout the pour. Or at least as close to evenly distributed as I can get. This gives a cool spiral effect. If you get cells, they will kind of come up in a spiral throughout the petals. Okay, here comes the copper. Groovy. So once the copper comes out, I'm going to try to maximize the flowery effect by changing direction. This kind of gives it a rose-like effect. I do about 1.5 spins and change direction. Again, doing my best to stay in the center. I might just use my hand now and try to get as precise as I can. Well, gonna have to fix that center. It happens. Not difficult, just a little swoop. That's all. all it takes. Okay. And I'm actually going to place my pour cup on its side just in case I need to use some of that. I'm going to spin this out a little bit because I kind of like when I get the little streaks here in the center. So I'm going to spin that out before I take it off. But first, I'm going to pop some bubbles. Matte paints, when used with a glossier paint, can create cells. And so that is what we're going for here. And when you pop the bubbles, it brings up some paint with it. And if it is a matte paint and it is next to a glossy paint, it will create a cell. And as I let it sit, those cells will develop, they'll get bigger. And once I spin this out, it will, I'm just trying to recenter that, oh, I don't want to do that too much. Okay. It's all right. If I let these sit and develop, once I stretch them out, they'll get even bigger. So I could spin it right away and get some cells, but this way I get bigger cells. Patience is your friend. All right, so if I give this a little bit of a spin before I lift this, some of this copper that's inside will start leaking out these centers here, which I think looks kind of cool. So I'm gonna give that a gentle spin. I feel off center. Let's fix that. Okay, I'm going to do just a bit more. I can see the copper coming out. That's what I want. Okay, perfect. Now, gently and carefully lifting my flower maker. Groovy center going on. Okay, so some of these edges have dried a bit. They set up as they sit. If it appears it is struggling to roll off the sides, just give it a touch up. It can get a bit of a skin on there. And just giving it a little bit of love will help that to slide over easier. You can also use your drips for this. If you run out of your base color. And you can tell when it doesn't seem to want to roll off evenly. Your puddle, like it kind of was fighting it right there because that little section had dried up just a bit. Same over here, same on all the sides, actually. So just giving that a bit of lubrication will help you reach the edge easier. Okay. That should help. And this is also why I have my pouring cup on its side in case I need to zhuzh up these corners a little bit. Sometimes you have to. All right, let's give it a twirl. I really like these colors together. Okay. Here, see right here how it's like kind of dipping in? That is a dry spot and it's fighting. So let's give that a bit more juice there. That's one of the reasons why I prefer to tilt and spin slowly, so I can keep an eye on these things and correct them when necessary. So here's another spot that's fighting. Quite often, if it's not spinning off evenly, that is why. You get spots that are a little drier than what's next to it. And this should absolutely be enough paint to cover the corners. And again, you don't have to spin fast. A lot of people think you gotta fling it really hard. You don't. I could spin this very slowly. I'm gonna take some of these drippings and just zhuzh up these edges a bit, just so it's not that straight parchment showing. And I will spin it again. This is just to expedite this process. Okay. A little bit more of a spin. But yeah, you don't have to spin this so hard that it's flinging onto your walls. This doesn't drip this doesn't drip past the corners for me. The drips are basically confined to the width of the canvas. That This is pretty much what I was going for. That doesn't happen often. Oh, I think my camera is sinking. I might have a stripped camera mount. Oh boy, okay. Well, I am quite pleased with how this turned out. I think there will be more cells popping up. I hope I get to keep that blue in there. I'm loving that blue, but I am seeing some blue lacing going on in there, which is super cool. All right, so I'm gonna let this sit and see what cells develop, and I'm gonna bring you in for a close-up. But I'm just gonna say right now, as it is, I love it. It is soft, it is sexy. That's a good one. I really love this color combination. I might have to do a bigger piece with this color combo. I think I may. All right, so I'm gonna let this sit. It's gonna do what it's gonna do, and then I'm gonna bring you in for a close-up. Back in a few. Okay, here it is. Loving how this came out. Wish there was a bit more blue, but that hint of it is still just enough. Really loving this piece. And I think I want to do a bigger piece with these same colors and maybe just do a traditional straight pour and let the colors just do what they're going to do. Perhaps I'll pull out a fresh jar of the copper. But I love that blue with the bloodstone. This is looking absolutely gorgeous. Loving this piece. Do check out the description box below for links to my PayPal tip jar if you feel so inclined. Not expected, but certainly very, very appreciated. You will find the links to my affiliates, DecoArt. Get yourself some of these cell making paints. Also, Fluid Art Company and the Paint Pour Store, where you can get yourself the nifty little flower maker. The edges have started to dry, so this is not going to change anymore. This should be it. But I think I can get some really gorgeous boulder cells with this combo. So I'm definitely going to try this again. Also in the description box, you will find the link to my website, where you can find my art and music and the Fluid Art inspiration cards for sale. And you will also find the link to our Facebook group. Go make some art. Join us there. Post your masterpieces. Get some inspiration. Get your questions answered. Okay, that is it for me for today. I hope y'all have a beautiful day. Now, go make some art.